Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, our Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition actual play here on Althaven with the StreamPunks. It's good to see everybody, or welcome back for the Monday nights. We got a big game ahead of us, so just going to throw out a couple of quick announcements. First big announcement is, for me, is that Jody Hauser now has up on her coffee shop a bundle of Stranger Things comics that are going to be signed. If you're interested in buying those, I'm going to be putting those up on my coffee shop as well. She's got hers up first because she is an overachiever, and she's got to do something with that master's degree. So that might as well beat me to the coffee. So then that's up right now. So if you head over to Jody Hauser and you're interested in buying copies of the Rise of Hellfire, the 4-issue Stranger Things comic that I did with her, it's up now. I don't have any other announcements, so I'm going to toss it out to anybody who wants to just take the mic and go.
I'll take a mic. I play GeoGuessr on Sundays and it's really fun, and I just put up a VOD up today. I did so bad, probably the worst I've ever played GeoGuessr in recent memory. If you want to watch me get so tilted, I think it's kind of funny. Worst I've ever played. Anyways, that VOD went up today. You should watch it. You should watch the one that went up previous to that, because that one was really, really fun and really good, and we did a good job. So if you want to watch me fail and then succeed, you should do that. Check out my YouTube.
Okay. Anybody else?
I can take the next one.
Yeah.
First, I just want to do a recommendation because I've been reading more recently, and if you enjoyed Sinners, I highly recommend reading Ring Shout. Really good book. Basically, it's honestly about just hunting the KKK, so it's very cathartic. But definitely check that out. It's got very like Southern folktale, very like specifically black Southern folktale inspired.
Ring Shout, you said?
Ring Shout, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. If you see the front cover is literally a KKK mask of mouths as eyes. So if you see that, that's the book. Really good. Highly recommend it. I don't know why I brought it up. It's on my mind, and because I finished it literally 2 or 3 hours ago, and it's stuck with me. And I need more to check out. But my actual announcement is Second Machinations. The next episode is going to be coming out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. I just recorded an incredible episode today, and so I just kind of wait for you to get to it. But in the meantime, we're like halfway through the season, so enjoy it while it lasts. Don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but nobody's here to stop me. So announcement. I'm going to be over on RP Geeks in the next couple of weeks in a campaign called Inevitable. It's going to be a short series using the system with the same name, Inevitable, where we play Arthurian cowboys. So if you like that kind of weird concept, that weird mashup, check that out. All I would say is that my character is heavily inspired by the Saint of Killers. Yeah, so if you like that kind of stuff, check it out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We've got an absolutely killer cast. Keep an eye out. And I think that's everything.
There are 111 people ahead of me in line in my public library for this book now.
It's really good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any announcements they'd like to make tonight?
Me.
Yeah.
Speaking of books, we're starting our new series over on Althaven, Agents of Lovely. It is very much like a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type show in Marvel. Be sure to check that out, and be sure to check out Morning Ritual. Our guest this week is Talking XP, the GM of our Daggerheart Bitten game, aka Nasty Johnny, and that is it.
Sweet. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Name one more time.
Nasty Johnny.
I had no reason to. I heard it the first time. I just wanted to hear it again because it had a sound to it.
Nasty.
And you know one way that you can be less nasty? Regular oral health. Flossing is good for you in a lot of ways. Like there's that whole thing with like flossing and heart disease and stuff. And just pause real quick. Why? Why is that a thing? Well, If you watch the latest episode of May Contain Science live now on YouTube and Coffee, not only can you find out why that is a thing, like with gums and stuff in particular, but you can learn how biomedical engineers use that quality to deliver vaccines on floss. So please go check out the video because I worked really, really hard to avoid the thumbnail and the title and the description and any of that having vaccines so that I don't get absolutely rolled. But I could therefore appreciate a few eyes on it. YouTube.com/@Delevely, DELEVELY. Don't forget to floss, kids, and make sure you pick up the one without the forever chemicals. They use them to coat floss, but plenty don't have them.
I have a question for you, Sam.
Yes.
I'm sure you've already heard, so I'm just trying to get clarification. Did I hear correctly that somebody has successfully created a way to completely replace knee cartilage without the use of somebody? They found a gel. They've created a gel that can completely replace knee cartilage, or some kind of. I'd heard something about this in the joints surgeries that like papers going around. Have you heard anything about this?
They've been doing things to that effect for years, and it is itself a very interesting topic because of how our bodies interface with what is called the extracellular matrix. Most of your body is made up not of cells, but of stuff and water and stuff. And so one of the most interesting problems, and like certainly one of the most interesting to check out there, is like when you have that, what is it made of, and what does your body do about that? Does it regulate differently? Cartilage is made by chondrocytes, and how they respond would probably be what I am most interested in because I'm annoyed.
Before we move on, I should tell you that I told my martial arts instructor, who is a doctor, about your quote that joints are merely gentlemen's agreements, and he thought that was absolutely brilliant and is going to use it for moving forward. So,
I'll bring that up in PT next week. I feel like my PT would like that too.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started and jump into tonight's episode of The Last Excelsior.
Episode's gonna be. Let's go.
And welcome back to The Last Excelsior. Yes, I know. We'll discuss the story later. But welcome back. It's good to see everyone. We're gonna kick off tonight's episode right where we left off on this mysterious uncharted. Well, no, it's not accurate to say uncharted. Apparently quite charted, but highly secretive and off the star charts planet. The Federation is apparently quarantined and blacked out. And from what you have learned from the two members of the Department of Temporal Investigations, is that the time agents are basically saying this world is even outside of their pay grade. All they know is that it is quarantined and that no one is allowed here, that the Federation has this as a buried secret. You guys have touched down on the planet to locate Chief Tech, who was unwittingly swiped from DS9. What you've discovered is Tech is down here with the Romulan, but it doesn't look like Tech is being held hostage. Instead, it looks like Tech was brought here by request, but that's not been made clear quite yet. The Romulan seems to be quite distraught. One of you, however, has been able to make contact with the Romulan and actually calm her down. It seems like she has responded well to Aeon, who has a sort of empathic psychic connection due to your psychic time shenanigans that you've been experiencing, kind of accidentally stepping into the emotional states of other people. It's been quite overwhelming. And it led to a bit of an outburst in sickbay, into which you were not in control for a split second, as you were overwhelmed by emotions. The price Vulcan might pay if they don't follow the disciplines of Kolinar. You get to live in the moment emotionally, but you experience passions many times a magnitude greater than any human, Andorian, or any of the other species. It's a fine line to walk. And you've done quite well to Aeon, except for when these bizarre temporal events take place where you empathically get infused with somebody's distraught emotions. To make matters even more dangerous for you, this was a Romulan. The distant cousins of Vulcans are also prone to having deep, passionate outbursts. And because of this, it was a bomb that just went off. However, the flip side is that because of that emotional outburst in that moment, you were able to connect with this Romulan, and she has dropped her guard a bit, as she seems to understand that you know what she is experiencing or going through. And though it hasn't really been made clear exactly what, but you know what she's feeling. And then there's Carl. Carl, the mysterious man who has appeared out of nowhere and has been somewhat enigmatic and is started up a conversation with the crew. Now, Carl started to explain a little bit about what's going on here. There's still a lot to be uncovered. What you do know, though, is that one moment a few of you were on the ship, and the next moment it would appear that you were all standing planet side. However, Carl has made some pretty fantastic claims. For example, he has made mention with emphasis that you are all, in fact, still on your ships. Though he hasn't given you an extended explanation as to what he means by that. And so we picked up where we left off with the Romulan, who is basically who seems to be desperately telling Carl, "I did what you asked me to. They're here. I brought you the bullion like you asked." Yeah, what's up? What you got?
I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
They actually did do it successfully with the V-22 Osprey tilter rotor, and it is a published emergency procedure.
Oh, sweet.
I will not be giving any context to chat at this time.
Oh, so I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if I just heard that. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
That was 2015. Yeah.
Neat. Wow.
So they really thought it was going to work, and it's a thing that they have done before. And they do that sometimes, and it works sometimes.
Sam used to be playing Last Excelsior, but then they took an article to the knee. But we're going to proceed.
Well, they have new cartilage, so.
That's right. The Romulan turns to Carl and says, "You asked me to bring you the bullion. They're here. Now keep your promise." Carl, this man that looks quite friendly, wearing a very 1930s winter kind of style look here in this runic wasteland of an ancient city, wearing a bowler hat and a thick cap and like a thick cigar coat and everything. He's pulling out his golden stopwatch. He's just looking at it for a second, and he says, "Well, maybe we should clarify. I didn't promise that I was going to help you. I told you that if you brought the bullion here, you'd be helping yourself. It's also worth pointing out, which is difficult to understand considering the linear way in which people live their lives, the technically, you all brought yourselves here.
Kaon gives this Carl person
Mhm.
a look that I think is just a raised eyebrow. I think a Vulcan raised eyebrow, and then very purposely turns their back to Carl
Okay.
and looks at the Romulan, our alumnus. What can we help you with? What's happening? What's wrong?
She looks hesitant to answer your question for a moment. You see the jaw clench on her narrow features. You also see some strange tattooing just above her brow. Doesn't look like anything you've seen before, and doesn't even necessarily look Romulan. It might be some kind of personal tattoo of some kind. But the mileage in her eyes, the things you can only imagine she has seen, she seems hesitant to open up despite the trust that's been built. You see her mouth kind of open for a sec, like she's about to answer your question, but she seems to think better of it and hesitates.
I can't say I understand or know what she went through. I can't know what she went through, even if you did tell me, but I know you were desperate for something, for help, for aid, for whatever Carl seems to have promised you. And that seems to have involved us in some way. So how can we help you?
She considers for a moment. She glances over your shoulder at Carl. Carl is just watching passively, but there is a certain amount of sympathy in his eyes as he waits patiently for her answer before he takes a big puff off his cigar. She glances back at you then and looks at the rest of the crew, and she says, "No, he's right. He didn't promise me. I'm not even sure why he's helping me."
I mean, that's a bit of a coincidence because neither do I.
She looks over at you and then glances over at the captain and then over to Taveen. And you see she's thinking, pondering, like she's trying to summon a memory for a moment. She says, Are you the crew of that old starship? That old Federation starship?
Yeah.
Don't have to call it old.
It is old.
Doesn't have to call it that.
She's
Fair.
simply experienced.
Carl seems to nod with appreciation to that. You wanted me to bring them here? Carl again raises his hands and he says, "There's been a big misunderstanding." She seems frustrated by this and says, "I need answers. You said this Bolian was the key, and that it was important that the Bolian were to be here." And Carl shrugs and says, "He's got a name. Chief Tech, nice to meet you." And Tech goes, "Oh, hi. Yeah, I don't know what's going on either." Carl says, "It's really not my story to tell. It's hers. It's not appropriate for me to start speaking for her. But if you want, shall I tell them? Or should they read about it?" You see this hesitation comes back to her, to Aeon. The woman looks at everyone, and damn if you don't seem to see shame suddenly and regret. And Carl nods and says, well, I suppose it's probably just going to do us best if we all are reading off the same paper. Our friend here is part of a crew that did a very bad thing. A thing that hasn't happened yet in your timeline, but then it's going to. You all are already acquainted with this far advanced 33rd century technology. You've probably already made the connection that she's a part of it. Do you want to tell them the rest, or should I keep going? She just inhales and says, my name is Mediek. I was the captain of a Romulan vessel that was involved in the temporal war that will take place in the 33rd century. We were one of the last ships to receive notification of the armistice. We were a prototype weapon being used. I was using a weapon that was made only possible because of what you did to me, Carl says. Because like so many other time travelers of that period, you started hurting people using me. And she's quiet for a moment. Carl steps in at this point and says, you see, many, many, many moons from now, there's going to be a bit of an upset where everyone realizes how incredibly easy it is to just step forward and backward through time. I mean, you can already do it now, but in your far future, everyone gets the hang of it pretty well. And what ends up happening is a big war where entire peoples are erased from existence and reinstituted over and over again. Events are changed and everyone's fighting to get the upper hand and everything was coming apart. And I started getting used. So I took my leave, except for things don't quite work in the linear sense that you might experience. And in this particular case, I've had to do a little bit of skipping across the pond back here in time to this particular moment, of which I already existed, but of which this Romulan captain here has inadvertently unearthed Pandora's box. And
what is Pandora's box in this metaphor?
Carl shrugs and says, basically, she used, well, just to use a general term, forbidden sciences by taking advantage of an entity that opens doors for people, help them experience time as it's happened. The result was, and she cuts him off and says, we created a cloaking device that would hide us from any detection of altering the timelines. We could do it in quiet and no one would know. We could change the destiny of entire governments, worlds, species, evolution. And those from the 33rd century would be unaware of our changes. Though someone did become aware, Carl speaks up. The Federation officer who was trying to track you down. Didn't go too well for him, but at least he had a little adorable AI who I am very fond of. We managed to put in the hands of a certain Klingon captain, and you can probably see where this is all starting to lead back to me. But it gets more complicated, because then you were all saturated with the experimental technology that she was using in her ship, and, where is that ship of yours now? We've come to the crux of it, haven't we? And he nods to her as he takes a puff off the cigar, and she says, I've lost control of it.
Sorry, lost control how?
And of what? Of whom? Of your crew? Of the ship? Of the technology?
Yes. All of that. My ship operated largely on algorithmic automated crews. It wasn't true AI, it was just following my orders. Think of it as sort of like a link. A link between me and the ship itself. It's almost as though the ship became another part of me. Technology that we were able to develop thanks to our studies from the early encounters with the Borg.
So your ship is flying around manned by
Itself.
There's no sentience aboard?
It is operating an algorithm based off of what I've wanted.
I presume it's something you no longer want?
Funny about regret, Carl pipes up. Turns out if you pull enough threads in the timeline, you might inadvertently change things you didn't want to change. And here we are, desperately at my doorstep again, helping me, and in return, wants me to make sure that her entire family line isn't erased from existence. Something she herself is guilty of. It's disappointing, though, that you haven't brought up the entire Klingon crew that's about to suffer the same fate. Maybe we haven't learned yet. And he looks at her critically as she's just quietly standing there, and he says, still time.
Do you know how to reverse it?
Carl says, I'm not entirely sure, and that's largely because I can't make choices for people. That's an important aspect to all of this. You all have to decide for yourself. All I can do is hold the door open for you and hope that the choices get made right. Though, admittedly, I do on occasion kind of act as a bit of a judge, which you have to when people are going to use you. Make sure that they're not going to get up to, well, what she got up to. And in the past, maybe I showed a little too much openness to helping people. It led to being taken advantage of and people getting hurt and killed. So instead, we're going to do this one more time. But she needed help. And I told her the truth. Because of her actions, others have been put at risk. The Klingon captain and her crew, and all of you.
Thanks for that.
She just says, it wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying.
Oh, well, in that case, I will get so much less erased from the timeline. What were you thinking?
He was the target.
Her jaw clenches up. And to Aeon, perhaps it's that empathic feeling, but whatever she was going to do was bad. Quite bad. You can see the stare right at the stone as she clenches up at the question. Carl says, what I can tell you is that it was going to be very bad for a lot of people. Still buying into some of the old ways of thinking. Still, in the 33rd century, there are some members of her culture that want to see a return to old imperial Romulan glory. It's a shame. Go all that distance, grow as much as you have, and wanting to run straight back into the cave of ignorance. And she just says, the Romulan Star Empire was the last time our people had any strength. It dies. I just wanted to preserve it. At the cost of what? Anyway, Carl says, fixing this, simple answers, complicated execution. And you all have to do this voluntarily. I'm not sure if this is necessarily even the best way to get it done, but it is the most direct way.
Would it be possible for me to patch my comm badge to our temporal agent so they could hear all this as well?
You could certainly give it a shot.
Okay.
We spend a momentum to have done that?
I would probably, at this point, I might just go ahead and intercept this then, if you're going to start burning momentum, and say that where you all are you seem to be in a sort of metaphysical state communicating with Carl.
Got it.
It seems what the impression that Carl is giving everyone is that you are indeed still exactly where you were, but that time has sort of stopped, and this metaphysical manifestation, y'all are kind of it doesn't feel like a psychic event, but it does feel something along the lines of cosmic timeline event.
So I'm getting a hard maybe from that.
Hard maybe.
Yeah. What are the I'm trying to we're speaking out loud and we're still on the ship, trying to
my brain's
my
like
way.
this astral projection. We're kind of astral projecting.
That's kind of what I was. Yeah.
You can certainly ask her if you want to spend momentum to get a question in, or you can ask Carl. If you want more information, you can get that. Yeah.
I think I'll just ask. We have a division that specializes in temporal events. Why us? Why not them?
Well, mostly because they're not the ones that are currently saturated in the variant antichronotons. They are not going to be able to participate in what needs to be done if you choose to do it. And also, I don't like them very much. No offense.
Is that why they quarantined you away?
He shrugs and says, they don't know that I'm here. This planet's quarantined for an entirely different reason.
They don't like me much. Cadence does reach out a hand to fist bump. Carl.
Does what?
Reaches out a hand to fist bump Carl at I don't like them very much.
He seems delighted by this and just fist bumps you back. Who they are right now is a bunch of folks that are doing their best, realizing that they are stepping into a frontier of travel that's a little beyond their reach, but who they become, well, that's different.
We do currently have two.
He just says, let's just say that eventually they start lending a hand to that whole war that takes place.
We do currently have two aboard our vessel who are agents and are willingly risking saturation for the good of this particular mission. Perhaps they could be of use to be filled in.
Carl smirks and he says, I bet they're freaking out right now. He takes a big puff off his cigar and says, honestly, I don't know. They seem good enough people. And I can't guarantee what will and won't happen. But if you want to take them with you, all they have to do is tell me they want to go.
Captain, do we have to?
No, but we should.
Why? Sir?
Because they have more information about chronological events and how these anomalies work than we do.
Yeah, but we're really cool and Tavina and I fly very fast. Surely that's enough.
We'll discuss it back on the bridge.
While they're having this aside, Tavina goes, pardon me, Carl, but I feel I completely am at a loss to what your abilities actually are here.
There.
Understandable. Captain?
Yes.
What's the play?
I can already tell you if you want to know spoilers. And he folds a newspaper and he holds it up and it says, daring Captain Jaren Idril leads crew through time jump into Klingon battlecruiser. He says, I'm wondering how this ends up. But you should all know, Captain, before you make your decision, if you decide to do this, and he sets the newspaper down, it's going to force you all into a different state of having to think.
I always said I was open-minded. I'm excited for the chance to prove it.
Just remember, do what you've got to do. But Carl gives a small shrug. Well, I'll leave it at that.
What does that even mean?
It means in a few moments, if you decide to go through that door, and he points at a door that's just standing there, you're going to be stepping into the shoes of other versions of you. You see, one of the problems with this escapade that our Romulan friend has been having is that she's not the only one that's been having it. She's just the one that's been pulling the thread the hardest. All across realities, there is a bit of an undoing taking place. And it's causing a big upset, as you can imagine. It's causing some, what would you call it? We'll call it spillage. Like somebody knocked over a nice glass of bourbon. The result is that every now and then reality comes popping into another person's reality, and I'm trying to track down specifically where the focal point, the shatter point was. It's why you've been getting visits from ships that aren't there. They are, but they're not. The anti-chronoton variants that she's manipulated allow the ship you're chasing to do some pretty extraordinary things, but I'll talk to you about that once you're all done with this, if you decide to do this.
On the
So
other
we would
side
be
of...
sent.
Oh, no, please.
So we would be sent to our Klingon friends on their vessel? Is that what you're insinuating?
Sort of. Yes. Once there, find Prism. Prism will be able to see you exactly for who you are. And will know exactly how to help you. The great thing about some of the quantum technology that's invented in the 33rd century is that it becomes a focal point across many of the timelines. And some of the delightful and impressive AI that are created up to that time point are able to sort of see things as they change. Prism will recognize you, even though you'll be in another reality.
Cadence turns around, so they're like facing fairly close to Tavine and away from Carl. I don't want to. I like this reality. I'm finally flying a peregrine again. Cannot. I don't want to. I don't want to. Do I have to? I don't want to.
I think, unfortunately, the risk that hangs over us, sort of Damocles style, seems to be we may lose this reality if someone doesn't step in.
I can't...
Do you trust anyone else?
Oh, they shove Tavine's arm a little. Do I trust someone else?
Well, there's an alternative, Carl offers. You don't have to take this path if you don't want to.
And our other option?
The only other option I can figure is finding the ship and destroying it.
We have been struggling to find.
He nods and says,
learned of it.
It's another reason why in the future, Tech here is going to come find me and try to set up the pieces so that you can all find me. Y'all were having a lot of trouble finding this ship, and it was ducking and evading you at every course, which, of course, you shouldn't be surprised. It evades 33rd century technology. It's amazing you've gotten as far as you have.
Well, now I want to find it.
I don't blame you.
Century nerds.
I'm not a big fan of the ship myself.
And what do you get out of this, Carl?
I get the comfort in knowing that the people who were meant to live their lives as they were living them get to keep going on living them.
Vibe check?
Without even having to roll, you sense complete sincerity from him. He says, I get that the weapon that was made from studying me is the last thing that people use that's a part of me to hurt other people. And in the process, maybe, just maybe, some of us get a little bit of a redemption arc. And he looks over at the Romulan, Mediek, who is still quietly staring at the stone, assuming she wants one.
Do you?
My family means everything to me.
And maybe if something else did, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Carl points at Cadence and goes, bingo. The shame they got it real fast, but you've been struggling with it for a while, kiddo.
More fist bump.
Carl fist bumps you again.
It does seem like we may have to have some conversations to ensure your motives aren't purely one track.
Mediek is about to open her mouth to respond to you when Carl interjects, cuts you both off, and says, she stays with me. She never gets to use the door again.
Conversations may still be had then. We'll need to know everything you know about the ship.
She nods. I'll tell you everything.
What were you trying to do? What started this madness? What were you trying to do?
There are imperialists who die. I was trying to save them, to ensure they survived so that the Romulan Star Empire would survive.
And how did you plan on making sure they survived?
I was going to move pieces around the board so that I could remain undetected. The stealth technology of my ship, it protects me, but it still can expose me if I change too much all at once. I've been skipping through the decades, moving a piece here, moving a piece there, setting things up, causing events to unfurl, to present opportunity to future events so that I can move another piece into place. And during the great upheavals that are happening right now, I was going to see to it that he survived and could usher in a new era in the aftermath. She's leaving out the part where the Romulan people form their brand new republic and break free of the horrible, oppressive past. Spoilers everywhere, folks. What you've got right here is somebody who's waking up to the suffering of others because, what's the old saying? Jaguars, faces, etc., etc.
Yeah, I remember that one.
We go through the door, we take on the lives of other individuals. We save the day with a minimal loss of life. We go back to the Pride and we hunt this ship and destroy it. We end the lives of all the souls on board. Is that what I am to understand is the case?
It appears there are no souls on board, Captain. It's entirely automated at the moment.
The ship is functioning off of an algorithm based off of my memories and my personality and my orders. It's not true AI.
And from what I understood, we'll be sent to an alternate timeline
Carl
and
pipes in at this
become
point.
alternate versions of ourselves?
Carl pipes in and says, correct. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to challenge your Federation senses of standard. But maybe, just maybe, it could use your Federation's senses. We'll have to see. But let's just say, and all the things that I've described of threads being pulled and coming apart throughout different timelines, I've managed to localize a single event that she set into motion that's caused a cascade effect. If you were able to correct this event, He nods and says, "You're going to find it a lot easier to take care of that ship. You might even have friends from the 33rd century who catch wind of what's happening. I should go ahead and warn you, though. The only reason why you are all capable of doing this is because of the anti-chronotons that you've all been saturated with. I can remove them from you once you've done this mission. It'll sort of function as a cleansing, as you were. Think of it like stepping through a shower. Once you emerge out of this whole reality jumping episode, you should be back to normal. I wish I could say the same for your ship, unfortunately. The anti-chronoton variants are a cascading effect in non-organic structures. Means eventually, well, the pride will just break down. Won't be erased from existence, though. Not if you complete this mission. That's the good side of this.
What does that mean for a ship that already is on a track to eventually break down? Faster? Immediate?
He
What's the
shrugs and says,
timeline on that?
"Truth is, I couldn't tell you. After this, if you succeed, what becomes of the USS Pride is really going to be new for me, too. I'm rooting for you, though."
A lot better than
Go ahead.
a lot better than mothballs.
He nods and
Remains
says,
to be seen.
"Who knows? Maybe those brilliant engineers of yours, including the one that's starting to figure the science out right now," nods to Tech. "Maybe you all figure something out."
My last question, I understand to some degree why we were brought here, but I'm not entirely sure why Chief Tech was brought here.
That's a bit of a spoiler, but Tech was brought here mostly because, well, if I didn't infer that Tech needed to be here, the Tholians would have likely killed him. Not on purpose, mind you. Tech looks wide-eyed at that. Truth of the matter is the Tholians kind of play a little fast and loose with timelines themselves, being rather sensitive to temporal change. The one thing she didn't account for because of how, well, secretive the Tholians can be. Turns out, Tholians can kind of feel the turn of the worlds, as it were, and know when someone's been messing around with things. They've been hunting her down. At first, they thought they'd come across her when they were hunting Tech down during his first tour on the USS Ross. But as it turns out, they were a bit early. So they backtracked. Way too early. And so then they jumped forward and found you all. And they found the moment where Tech, using the brilliant minds of a bunch of civilian scientists on Bajor, starts into motion the very time travel technology that's going to be used to harm billions and billions of people in the future. Tech looks like their face starts to get pale, and he says, "Oh, don't worry. That's not on you. The technology that you're about to create is going to open up doors to help people receive aid all over the quadrants. It's the people in the future that are going to abuse that technology. That's not on you, Chief. You're a good guy. All of you are. Jury's still out on you." Points to the Romulan woman.
I can't ask any of you to partake in this. I think your oath stops at alternate dimensions and timelines, but we can do some good here. And I would ask for you to join me.
I have had a rough go of it now and again, but I quite like my existence, Captain. I'd like it to keep on keeping on. Plus, you'll need a big ship pilot.
Cadence just gets up right into Almus's face, like, "I don't want to go through that door. Hey, because of what you did, now I have to go because my captain and my sister are gonna do this ridiculous nonsense, and that is on you. And you and I, never gonna be cool, by the way. You, Carl, maybe considering it. Possibly. Come by for lunch sometime. Never gonna be cool with you." I don't even want to share a timeline with you. Get your own somewhere else. You can do that now, apparently.
Carl smirks at this and is just kind of nodding in agreement.
And then I stand near my captain, my sister, and I don't like it. As a standard action.
I spend one momentum and I just stand there and fume.
Minor action to glower.
Yeah.
I think the entire time, Theon has been kind of staring at. Can I just get the Romulan's name? Because last week I thought it was Alumnus.
Yeah, I have
but think
alumnus
it's a
in my
different
notes
name.
from last week.
Yeah, alumnus is what you were all told.
Okay, so it seems like they were lying.
And then you reintroduced yourself as
Mediek.
Mediek.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been like kind of staring at Mediek this entire time. And I think very purposefully again, aware of this bond, this link we currently have. I think I'm gonna let almost like easing a faucet open and quickly shutting it again. I want to open up that link enough for them to feel the rage I am feeling at learning what she did and how she endangered everyone. I want to let that come through.
Okay. Opening that channel is a two-way street.
Yes.
So as you begin to tap into it and gaze at her, what fuels the rage as you kind of open it up is, again, it's empathic, but it was telepathic in nature across time. Perhaps it was the anti-chronotons. You just still don't fully understand how you were able to do this, but the connection between the two of you, and whatever she was going to do was, it's clear to you, as Picard once said in a very famous episode, there are simply no laws to punish somebody for the crimes of the scale that she was going to commit by altering the timeline. She was flying this prototype Romulan cloaked ship, and the 33rd century couldn't stop her. And Carl has told all of you that an accord was signed and the war was stopped, and apparently she is operating after the fact. She's rogue and she's doing this on her own. And when you tap into her, all of that sensation, that knowledge comes pouring into you. And there is still this desperation to still find a way to succeed. But it's battling this self-loathing, this confusion of how does it come to this? There was an opportunity to lay down arms, but she was so close. Why did they have to sign the armistice? They were ahead of the game. They were going to win it all if she had just a little more time. If that armistice hadn't been signed. You feel that conflict, and it's intermingled with Carl's words burning into her. You're definitely getting the sense that she, through her understanding to Aeon, Carl is a being of ancient, beyond knowledge, ancient origin. But you do get a sense of his intentions. She was able to manipulate, and they were able to manipulate him and his technology, apparently. He is a sentient being of some kind, and they were able to utilize him. He should be furious. And there's a little bit of confusion from her why he's putting this all in y'all's hands like this. But the rage that fuels you in that moment, after you're processing all of this information coming into you, is that there's still a part of her that wants to see the Vulcan people subjugated, that wants to see the Romulan Star Empire become as it was promised in ages past. Like, there's just a little part of her that has bought into this terrible long, ancient, imperialistic point of view that they infused into Romulans. It was their destiny to conquer everything. There's a little bit of that that's fighting against this. It's not regret, it's surrender. And the shame you feel from her, it's not shame that you caught her wanting to just wipe out the possibility of trillions of people's lives. It's shame that she's going to fail.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. I think
more in there, but that's what you get from a surface read.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That is all from this. That is all, and keep in mind, because of that channel, that's all processed in like 1 second. All of that information I just gave you as you open that channel.
I think, oh damn it. Part of me was like, I don't want them to do it, but I think in this moment they would. I truly think out of nowhere, Taeyeon punches her in the face.
Yep, you're gonna pull a Kirk.
Yeah.
You're gonna pull a Kirk, gonna pull a Worf, gonna pull a Cisco, gonna pull a moment in Trek where even Captain Pike every now and then you come across someone who just needs a good punching.
And the double tap.
I will say, everybody who is touching that moment of silence, you see anybody who's looking at Taeyeon sees Taeyeon glance at her, and the expression shift. Like a Vulcan boiling over, it's not a moment of animalistic fury. It's the eyes slightly widen, the jaw clenches, and the coldest, most dedicated look to rage just comes over to Aeon's face. She is knocked unconscious in one strike. Bam! You see her stumble back and hit the ground.
Lieutenant!
Drac, if you'll allow, Tavine is at your back with a hand on your shoulder immediately, looking at you, trying to get a read on, is this a one-off?
Carl,
or do I need to put you down next?
right. Knee-jerk.
Yeah.
You
like from Vulcan to Vulcan,
yeah.
Like non-colonial, like
Carl,
just
imagine
hand
if Zara's in this space with us. Imagine Zara's moving.
Colonoscopy?
as well.
Did Zarya come with
I remember, did
Colonoscopy?
Colonoscopy?
did Zara get put into this mind
Kohlrabi.
space? Was it just
Yeah,
that?
was Zarya here?
Yeah, Zarya is here.
Okay.
Zarya has been listening to all of this, just trying to process everything. But when that happened, Zarya, her hand immediately went to the phaser she thought was at her side. And glances down, and then glances back and notices the other two crew members are not with her. And Carl immediately pipes up and says, "It's all right. It's going to be tough for him." He's gazing directly into her mind and seeing a little bit of what she's struggling with. It's got to be a lot to handle.
Kind of immediately like raises their hands the moment they feel Tavine at their side, the moment they hear the captain. Sorry, Captain.
I'll let you go.
I'll look to Zara. I'm in control.
She's like, "You good?" And she looks over at, as she says that, she's also, just so you know, while she's waiting for your entry, she's also glancing at the captain, like waiting to see if the captain's going to basically give the order.
Lieutenant, you have a hold of yourself.
Yes, Captain.
If it makes you feel any better, she'll wake up along with the rest of you and not a scratch on her.
What did you see? What caused that, Commander?
I saw a lack of regret. I saw someone ashamed they were caught, not ashamed of what they attempted to do.
Shame that they didn't succeed.
I see.
So even now, and I look down at the unconscious mind representation of this person.
But she is on the ground. She's not moving.
Vulcan punch so strong you knocked out someone's subconscious.
Slap the dream out of you.
Captain, I saw someone that even in this moment was trying to figure out how they could still succeed.
Carl, are you certain that you can contain her?
He says, the redemption arc that I mentioned before and saying that the jury was still out on, truth of the matter is that's actually going to depend on how you all do. There's so many versions of ourselves out there. There's a different version of her right now that would want to punch her the same way you did. We might get that version if you're successful. If not, well, people have a tendency of writing their own futures. I don't know.
So if we do this, she may punch herself. She will punch herself. That's on the table.
If you succeed at whatever it is I'm about to send you to do. And
okay, I'm much more enthusiastically involved in this now.
He nods. Says,
I have a feeling we have a billion more questions. Tavine's base wants to run through. Is our ship and crew going to be good if we do this? Do we need to, like, is time going to pass? Or are we going to come back to this moment with shit corrected? Like, basically, do we need to make preparations here and now, or is it not going to matter if whether we fail or succeed? Like, basically, like, is everybody good while we do this? Is kind of what she wants to get a grasp on, and then also getting information from.
Carl says, what do you call a tense clock? All wound up.
I get it.
I
don't know how many people are winding clocks anymore.
I was going to say past tense.
When you step through that door and when you return, you'll be returning to the same moment as when you first beamed down to this planet. You'll be returning to the same moment you were flying around in that impressive ship of yours. Everyone will be exactly where they are. Not a second will have passed in your time. Here, where we are now is, well, here. And through there, well, that's there. And he points at the door.
You said the non-organic elements of the ship may deteriorate, that you're not sure.
He says, oh, don't worry. Peaches will be fine.
That was the question. Thank you.
Bright future ahead of that one. And he winks at you, Cadence.
Yeah, training's coming along. Might make a pilot out of him someday.
And when we go back to our ship, will there be any way that you could help us find the vessel that we're searching for?
Well, unfortunately, no. I wish, but I'm somewhat limited in what I can and can't do outside of the purview of, well, being a door. And he points at the door again. But something tells me you're going to be able to find help. Or rather, help is going to come to you. Have faith. Get this done, and you might help heal quite a bit of wounds out there.
Well, we have our mission. We have our heading, to some degree.
Our informant is out cold, unfortunately. I would like to get the specs on that ship before we go, but it does seem like no preparations need to be made other than that.
She'll be here when you get back.
Okay.
I'll make sure of that before everyone returns to their moment in time.
Any other cryptic words of wisdom for us before we embark on something completely illogical?
Believe me, I understand. It's sometimes fun, but other times it's as exhausting for me as it is for you. There's so much I can tell you, and so much I can't. It'll affect the choices you'll make. It'll affect timelines. Being cryptic, I just try to make it fun. I'm not very good at it. I spend a lot of time alone.
No, like tell us something that you can tell us though.
He shrugs and says, I'm fond of the classics. I like your ship. It's from an era in which I was first introduced to the Federation. Well, just after.
Tavine leans into Cadence and says, unfortunately, I think he's won me over.
Yeah, yep. I knew it as soon as I heard it.
I'm just gonna take one more look at Taya. You good to go?
Yes, Captain.
All right. Then I think we're ready.
On your mark, Captain.
It's been interesting.
He nods and says, I'll see you when you get back. And good luck.
Thank you.
With that, he opens the door and takes his hat off like he's ushering you through, like he's welcoming you to the show.
All righty, follow.
Captain, I do need you to say it feels, if we're starting a mission, and you haven't said that, it doesn't feel correct.
Well, I saved that for when we're on the ship and I tell you to go. There's a whole tradition to these things. I learned that in first week of captain school.
Yes, which is why it feels incorrect that we're about to step into the unknown.
So what? You want to hear me say we're going to boldly go, or you want me to tell you to swing?
Go! I run.
The ladder. The ladder. And we go. I duck through.
Fastest pilot in Starfleet, baby!
We're all going to die. And I just casually walk in the door.
One of my favorite quotes from Atlantis: The Lost Empire. We're all going to die. All right.
Empirically correct.
Do we have Taeyeon? Do we have Taeyeon?
I think I turn to Zara and just go, I'll be honest, I was thinking our second day would be in our reality, but
She nods and says, yeah, this is definitely not what I had in mind.
You are going to come with us, though.
I think I'm supposed to, right? And Carl looks at her and says, if you want. And she says, I want to.
I think
and
with
you can see a little bit of anxiety, something you've never seen on her before, as she reaches out and kind of just clasps your hand for a second as the two of you stand in front of the door.
I gave a small squeeze.
And she looks at you and nods.
Hopefully we have a more boring third date. And I'll walk in.
And you all step through the door. Each of you emerging on the other side. Just in time for an early 10-minute break.
Yeah, I could feel it coming.
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes away, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to start it now. Let's take 10. We'll take 10. We'll come back, and we'll see you all then on the other side. All right. I had to pass a rule because when a quick glance behind the GM screen, when we were doing in-studio live play, like I would have bursts of anxiety right before we would go live, and B-Dave would always say butts or like boobies or something like that right before it goes live. Yeah, boobs and butts. And I had to actually eventually be like, please don't do that, because I literally like I'm ADHD. So when you do that, my mind goes, where? What's happening? And then I have to get back into running Star Trek, which I guess, depending on which era, it may not be out of character. However, you all step through the door. What happens when you reach the other side is not you all stepping into a new reality. It's simply waking up to where you are right now. And as I've loved to describe in the past, An old favorite of mine is describing as something like a bad edit, where you just cut to a smash cut to where something is just completely different. Each of you is standing around a beautiful black glossy desk. The desk has lights that blink just underneath the surface of the display, immediately invoking feelings of a retro style look. But not unlike something you might see on the Excelsior. The Pride has old paneling like this, but it doesn't use this system anymore. It uses LCARs, but this is definitely Federation. The carpet is a deep blue coloration. The walls around here have that same Federation look. Oh, and then there's the Federation officers that are across the table from you, wearing monster maroon red uniforms. Each of them in the Wrath of Khan era red uniforms, clasped to the side. They sit opposite of each of you. For those of you who know your history, it is impossible not to immediately recognize Hikaru Sulu when you see him. He sits in the center of the table, flanked by a first officer, and Pavel Chekhov as well. They, too, are flanked by a few officers of the Federation. It's jarring to see these legends standing and sitting in front of you in this room. But what becomes even more jarring is each of you glancing at one another hears the telltale signs of leather stretching as you kind of look about, causing you to look down at yourselves. You each wear full-body Klingon armor, complete with claws arcing off of your knuckles. Disruptors are not currently at your side, but your Diktak is. Each of you glancing at one another spots the other. You see the vague visages of each other in one another. You are Klingon officers in the Klingon Defense Force. And currently, you are flanking a woman who is seated across the table from Captain Sulu. They seem to be having a pretty intense discussion. If you would like to roll to see if you know your Klingon history, to identify who it is that you are flanking right now. But the one thing that is clear, based on the flags that are set up on your side of the table and your visage and armor, you are all members of the Klingon Empire. And this is many, many years before the USS Pride leaves space dock. This is many years, before your tour on the USS Pride begins and leaves space dock. If you would like to find out if you can recognize her, go ahead and make a check for me. I think the most obvious one here is probably going to be Reason Command.
What's the difficulty?
The difficulty, 2. Set the difficulty at 2. You succeed?
I don't succeed.
With 2.
0.
No success, 0 to you? Okay.
Would the focus Starfleet Protocol probably wouldn't.
Starfleet Protocol would certainly help you understand what's happening here.
Okay, will that help in the check as a focus?
It wouldn't help you identify who she is.
Okay.
But you can roll it, and if you want to use that as a focus, I would shift your roll to that information being that what this meeting seems to be to you. But you won't be able to identify who she is. You might be able to identify her station, though.
Cool. That's going to be a 1 and a 4 under 15. So that is 4 successes.
All right. So what did you get, Caitlin?
I only got 1 success.
Okay. So, Captain, you get roughly a timeline. This is clearly many, many, many years ago. This has got to be the 2290s at least. And you're not entirely sure. You're a little disjointed. You're not entirely sure who she is, but considering the Klingon flags of the Empire that are flanking the both of you, and the fact that she is apparently surrounded by staff, which is you and the rest of the Pride crew here as Klingons, whoever she is, she's very important. and this is a formal meeting of some kind. Cadence, however, you know who she is. This is Chancellor Azet Burr, daughter of Gorkin. She was the only other woman to assume the chancellorship in the Klingon Empire, and took control of the Klingon Empire after the assassination of her father, which led to the Kittimer Accord signing and peace between the Klingons and the Federation. It ended an entire era. It was a famous moment in history because it was the Great Battle of Kittimer, where the USS Excelsior and the USS Enterprise battled a Klingon bird of prey that could fire while cloaked. You know your history because that was a space combat to study. But as you glance, you realize you're standing next to her. And as the scene is unfolding in front of you, you hear Sulu say, "If there is anything we can do to help you with your mission, please know that the Federation is at your disposal. We want to ensure that the peace between our two governments is a long-lasting peace." And she just says, "Thank you. And I trust you now. I hope you know that. But the internal strife in the Empire is mine to deal with. If I am to have a legitimate chancellorship, this must be settled as a Klingon matter, and Federation cannot interfere, or I will be seen as illegitimate, and my power will be challenged." He nods, and Chekhov says, "We are at your disposal if you need us." She rises from the table. "I believe our meeting is done. Thank you, Captain Sulu, for your time." Chancellor. She looks at all of you and then nods and starts to walk out the door. Zarya just starts to follow.
Yep, fall in.
This town.
You guys step out onto the bridge of the USS Excelsior.
That's what.
It is a completely different layout. It is old school. You see the railings going around the side, the old computer consoles, and on the screen you see an old Klingon D7 battlecruiser just off the starboard bow that is currently running in formation alongside the USS Excelsior. It's not clear to any of you what's happening here, but she is met with security officers who begin to escort all of you to the turbolift. You have an awkward moment where everyone is just not really able to say anything yet as you're all in the turbolift. The Chancellor glances over at you, Sharon, and in beautiful, perfect, accented Klingon just says, "They are an honorable people." And Sharon, you begin to realize natively, you just understand absolutely everything. An inflection that the universal translator doesn't always pick up, but you completely understand. She seems disappointed that she can't ask for help.
I think this is sweet. Sharon notices, like,
You kind of just look at her and then reach up and, oh yeah,
okay,
thick, heavy, rigid forehead going up into a thick black mane that kind of arcs off the top of your body.
Oh, hair. Okay, that's cool. I would like to. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna look to the captain, Captain Sulu.
Oh, he's not in the turbolift with you. Y'all
Oh, God. Okay,
y'all are
we've
just
left them.
by security. Yeah.
You want to ask them for help. Why don't you?
She glances at you, and Sharon, it's hard to tell if she's furious with you or if this is just her face, because she doesn't reply in an angry way at all. She just says, "Sympathizers of Chang will just use it as an excuse to try to bring down what's left of the government. We need to find out who is supporting them. Something is not right."
Do you have a plan?
"I will." She stands with this silent dignity and determination. What you remember of her, Cadence, since you succeeded at the role. You're thinking about all this as you all walk to the transporter pad.
Didn't Jaron succeed too? You had 2 successes, right?
Oh no, I got to figure out what the meeting was about. Not who
Yeah.
it was.
And Jaron, it apparently was some kind. It was an official meeting where the Federation apparently was offering aid.
Got it. I just remembered the success and I got them conflated.
Yeah. It basically was able to determine what her station was, but he wasn't able to determine exactly who she was. But Sulu's kind of spilled the beans at this point. Cadence, what you remember of Azat Bur is that she never wanted to, she wanted her father to live. Her father, Chancellor Gorkon, was a rare Klingon. He was one who wanted peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. He wanted the Cold War to end. He wanted prosperity for his people, and he wanted the warrior caste that had dominated Klingon culture to actually start caring for its people and changing everything. He was a reformist, and therefore a very controversial Klingon. His assassination was what people thought was going to be a death blow. You remember history telling you that Azat Bur took over her father's reign as chancellor, and history records that it did not go well at all. Years after the signing of the Kittimer Accords, she just didn't have the heart to lead the empire. She tried to do her best and follow in her father's footsteps, but you suspect what really happened was that she never found out how she should be chancellor. History would record that she was deposed, and she kind of vanishes after that. And the House of Gorkon just becomes an old Klingon house that was once great. A sad end to one of the great Klingons of the 23rd century. You all beam aboard this D7 cruiser, something that many Federation officers would never see outside of a fleet museum, but here you are seeing it in real time. People standing at attention. As you all beam on board and you are now cast into this dark red haze of the interior of the ship, the lights are just dim in here. She says, I will be in my quarters.
Captain.
Of course, back to Kronos.
A moment. If I may.
The Chancellor stops and turns to you.
I have no use for honor.
A few of the officers glance in your direction, and she too kind of tilts her head.
I have no use for the appearance of honor if I am not an honorable individual. This is a weapon that you can use. I will gladly sacrifice my honor to accomplish your mission. You cannot ask for help. I can.
Adabur stares at you for a long moment, and her hand slowly comes up and cups the side of your face. And she says, I will need your strength to get through this.
This is my strength.
In a show of Klingon affection, she just lingers and stares into your eyes for a few moments longer, and then abruptly turns and heads out of the transporter room, seemingly dismissing herself and wanting no further contact. But Jaren, again, it's a very Klingon way of expressing. You are all on your own now to collect yourselves and figure out what the hell is going on. What's up, Caitlin?
Based on our uniforms and like any kind of insignia, can I tell who we are to her?
No,
Ooh.
it's not clear.
Okay.
But theoretically, you should have access to the database at least to figure out
that
who
was
the
the
hell
next
y'all
thing.
are.
I was like,
Mhm.
if we had, I don't know, if we were like her legion or like if we were just transporting her today, like, yeah, anyways.
Yeah,
I would like to get to a computer. Or if I have a data pad on me, do I have any sort of like Klingon version of a data pad? Okay, all right.
It's also worth noting that each of you kind of seems to know where your quarters are. The ship somehow feels familiar.
Muscle memory.
The two Becks in here, which are basically like ensigns, low-ranking warriors, are not paying attention, as they shouldn't be. But Zarya turns and gathers next to all of you and says, okay, Okay, this is not what I was expecting at all.
Neither was I.
Captain, I think we've gone back in time as well? Is that who I thought that was across the table?
I'm fairly certain that was, in fact, Captain Sulu.
This is going to be a hell of a debrief.
Well, I have to make it home first, so.
Yeah.
What's the play, Captain? Should we regroup somewhere quiet first, or should we just explore and regroup later?
I'm gonna look at the Becks and go, give us the room.
The Becks immediately pay attention and they leave immediately following their orders. You have the
I
room.
dare say you may find this too much fun, Captain.
Can you tell? It's the hair. My natural inclination is to think that teamwork between the Klingons and Starfleet is the way to go. But we need more information.
We need Prism, sir.
Oh, that's right. Carl said that Prism was going to be somewhere on the ship.
I'm unsure how to find them. They are a AI program. I don't know if they would be on the same pad we found them on
Could
vessel
maybe
or not.
we run an internal security scan and see if there's any anomalous readings or any kind of weird...
Can I pull up now real quick? I want to see what make sure we've still got compatible roles on this vessel, like before we start like sending people to dig into like security stuff that they're actually security people still here.
Yeah, you see your names presented here, and it's very much like you see your names in rank, and they're all equivalent rank. Like Jaren is still a captain, apparently. Everyone is still lieutenants. Everyone has their ranking still. You're all
Always
very
the bridesmaid.
Even though you, curiously enough, too, you see your Klingon names, but each of you is very aware that your actual names, as you know them, aren't necessarily being translated or feeding over into this reality. In other words, calling Cadence, the Klingons are going to hear a Klingon name. You start seeing that at least digitally formatted, and each of you are kind of have this vague awareness of the rules here.
It says cadence right there. What do you want?
Apparently, I'm Uban Lakilta.
I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this one, Captain.
There is there is a console here in the room. There's the transporter console, which is connected to the main computer database. You do have your Klingon equivalent of a tricorder. This is your Klingon data pad.
Are we still like are our security people still security? Are Cadence and I still pilot? Like, is that still okay?
Yep.
So I can be the greatest pilot in Starfleet and the Klingon Empire. Is what I'm hearing. I'm just gonna make a quick adjustment to my values.
If we remember what Carl told us, it's that friends would find us. So I find that we should put us.
I'm sorry. I should offer GM clarification. He was talking about
if we took the other route.
If you succeeded this mission, then how would you find the ship? Friends would find you to help you. Is kind of yeah.
All right. Well, Prism
is
a highly advanced AI. Perhaps it simply needs to know that we are here.
So why don't we all take reconnoitering?
And I think going off of the idea that maybe we should check for like anomalies in the system. Teon doesn't know. They're not really good with computers. They're not the computer jockey. So I think what I'm going to try and do instead, and I don't know if this will work, but I think it'll be cool. I would like to, just in like the equivalence of like the Notepad app, like on this pad or on a terminal, I would like to write out the name of the house of the Klingon that is missing from time.
Okay.
And just write it in the equivalent Notepad app.
Okay.
And
Do you want me to give it to you?
hope. Yes, please. Yes. My memory is
Macross.
still did it right. Macross.
Yeah, Macross, daughter of
So I think I'll type that out.
When you walk over to the transporter computer and open the database, accessing it and like entering the name, House Macross is here. It exists in this time. You see that it is currently a minor house. You also see anybody who is gazing at this, I would say anybody who is gazing at this information, who has had contact with the Klingon captain, would also recognize that the Cross who brought up her father, he is still alive in this period and is on this ship. He is a lieutenant on this ship, a young Klingon officer.
Taeyeon, I like your idea, and I'd like to add a little bit onto it if I can.
Yeah.
I'd assume that I have to file the Klingon equivalent of a mission report on what just occurred.
If you want to.
I am going to do that.
Okay.
And just once, I'm going to accidentally mistranslate the USS Excelsior as the USS Pride.
Okay.
Something the Klingon would probably think is just like a mix-up, but an AI that knows time would be able to pick up on.
Okay. So you file a mission report,
Mhm.
keeping it very brief, and just USS Pride.
Yep.
Okay. You enter that into the computer. Gain a momentum.
Woo!
That's really fucking clever.
Just for housekeeping, I'm gonna have us at 3 because I just assumed we're starting the scene with our two
Mhm.
close-knit
Yep.
crew, and then
I
plus the
think
one.
we lose all momentum when we swap realities. Is my
Fair.
understanding from the two.
Honestly, that makes sense.
That does check out. That does
Yeah.
track. So we're at 3.
It's not
Um,
called momentum anymore. It's acceleration, guys. In this universe.
Okay, but that's a completely different fit.
When I
Yeah,
ran-
I mean, I guess it's universe, yeah.
When I ran a sponsored Transformers game, we were not allowed to call it transform. We had to call it convert.
No way.
Yeah, so we couldn't say transform and roll out. We had to say convert and go. It became.
But my form's still trans. What do you
What's the
want from me?
point?
I don't know. I don't know why we got that note or who it came from, but we couldn't do it. It was very disappointing.
Oh no!
But it became a running gag with the group.
Just
Convert
as many
and go.
weird like
Yeah.
synonyms as you can think of.
Yeah. So, tell you what. Also, while you're in there, Taeyeon, do me a favor and make me. Ooh, you actually get to. Oh my goodness, you actually have to. You're gonna have to roll here. So let me ask you to do this. If you could please make me a reason command check with a difficulty of 2.
Double tap. Double tap.
And then I'm going to need somebody to roll for the Klingon ship.
2 successes.
What ship are we on? Did we get the ship name? We got the ship type.
Yeah, you get the ship type. So I'm pulling up that info right now because it is a. One sec, as I'm pulling it up.
Is this the Wrath?
I was
Seriously?
the Klingon word for it. Yeah.
Nope, let's try that again.
That would
Oh,
be
'cause
good if
it
we had a
could-
wrath.
Yeah.
The most lukewarm from both of you.
Yeah.
Too bad.
my
Too
God,
bad. We're making
I
fetch
love
happen out here.
No, I'm fully aboard, but they're both like, oh, it's a pun. They both
All right, hold
realized at
on.
the same moment.
It's
Hold
not
on.
a pun. It's a wordplay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
So
a word
whoever-
association.
Whoever could roll. So the stats for this is 7 plus. Okay, so because it's computers plus command, so you need a 9 or lower.
Okay. Oh, well, I can take it.
It's a
Roll
different.
Wrath. Here we go.
It's a different time.
Yeah.
It's a mush-
It didn't work. I got a
Okay.
bad.
Damn it.
No success.
How could you? How could
Okay.
You know.
I got 2 successes anyway, though.
2 successes. All right. So further on top of this, so you learn you were on aboard a D7 Klingon battle cruiser, which is sort of the battle cruiser of the time. It's a little outdated by Federation standards. The Federation kind of answered by the Excelsior class was actually the last of a generation of battle cruisers that was being made by the United Federation of Planets. Originally was built to sort of be an experimental platform for transwarp drive. It never worked. So instead, the Excelsior became the workhorse battle cruiser. And shortly after the Excelsior class started getting built, peace broke out. So the Excelsior kind of transitioned to a bunch of different roles. But this is my way of saying the Excelsior kind of was the Federation's answer to the D7 battlecruiser, which was a monster of a ship to go up against. Still a powerful and dangerous vessel. But the Excelsior is bigger and has just as much power behind her. Scale 4, powerful ship. This is apparently the Chancellor's flagship, but more importantly, you're getting reports coming in, like essentially you're able to look through office reports as well as like news coming in from Kronos and Fleet Command. So as you're scrolling through this is giving you information about what the situation is here. What have you beamed into? Because you know you need to find Prism, but you don't know what that meeting was about, and you don't know what she was discussing. And what you learned with 2 successes is apparently this takes place shortly after the signing of the Kittimer Accords. Where you all are right now is just maybe a few years into her reign as Chancellor. And apparently the Klingon Empire is in a bit of turmoil. General Chang, who is a member of the house that assassinated Chancellor Gorkon, his house was disgraced after the assassination of the Chancellor, and many of the members of his house were discommoded and thrown to shame. However, he stood for Imperial Klingon power. He was all about the Imperial Klingon state of power and believed that the Federation was the enemy that we were all destined to fight and kill. He was the past. There are many, many Klingons who are not ready to accept the Federation as allies and who want there to be a war and would rather watch the Klingon Empire burn in a glorious final battle than to succumb to being friends or allies of the Federation. That sect of extremists has pushed back on Azatbur's reign as Chancellor and has increasingly made her life very difficult. Apparently, according to intelligence reports, as you're scrolling through this, in the past few months, the uprising has begun, where there are Klingons now openly challenging and calling for the removal of the Chancellor, and many who believe the House of Chang should be reinstated and to take over the Empire. They were all considered anathema, because despite the popularity of what they might do, what they might be, everything hinges on honor in the Klingon Empire, and the House of Chang has been dishonored. So how is it that all of a sudden they are being so well funded? One of the great houses must be supporting them. Who? That's currently the state. It would seem that Azatbur is currently trying to hold on to power, as sympathizers for the House of Chang are trying to overwhelm the Empire right now and take over and drag the Empire back into an imperialistic state that would undoubtedly result in a massive war with the Klingon or the Federation, a war that is not supposed to have taken place.
One of the chess pieces don't move them around. Because of self-reliant, I get 2 bonus momentum just for succeeding there. So do you want to do any information spend? Are there any other questions we have that we want answered?
Is there anything currently happening that we don't recognize as our history? Maybe something to that effect?
Excellent question.
Variables? That would be my thought.
I'm going to give this to Cadence, because Cadence actually had the successful history roll about Azatbur. Because all of you guys are going to be restricted until you find Prism. You're only going to know whatever information is available at the time. But Cadence remembers who Azatbur was. So Cadence,
they shot from Yes.
Yeah, her father was a reformist, and that battle was how she's connected. So I'm going to set the difficulty at 3, though, because we're starting to move away from her reign as Chancellor and get into elements of general Klingon history at this
For
point.
information spend?
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
gonna
in
be
that
a
case,
pain
then
in the
in that
for
case, I want to use something else.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes.
two
Yeah, we have
momentum
two.
that would disappear.
There's two bonus momentum.
But I think if I'm not mistaken, the information spin has to be done by the person who made the roll.
Yes.
Yes,
So I was
yeah.
asking if
I
anyone
was
had
So
any
you
pitching-
probably
questions
remember
that I can-
different
Oh, I
details
see.
than I do.
Okay,
I
hold
was
on.
pitching a question for
Sorry, I totally get it.
Drac to ask.
Yeah, I'm caught up now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, Cadence, as you are seeing this and sort of being fed this information, you pipe up and give what you know. So, Cadence basically explains that Azabur's reign was not it was not considered a successful reign as chancellor, but it was lasting. It did last for many years before she was finally deposed. There was never a war, and there was never an uprising of the House of Chang. From what you remember, Cadence, the House of Chang was a broken house, and never, up till the period in which you all in, never achieved any status ever again.
So I think it's pretty clear, Captain. We have to be the ones who break them.
I hate.
You see,
time
like
travel.
Cadence has their hand on their desktop, like they're in.
And then you had one other bonus momentum if you wanted to.
Yes.
You can spend for the information if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if I could spend it on more information, why not? It's going to fizzle. and
Sure.
disappear like
What would you like to ask?
This is not my question. This is me clarifying.
Yeah.
I'm getting like, is it just like a news report, or is this like I'm looking through reports given and made by from missions and reports I'm reading, or just like something I'm reading in a newspaper?
There's no specific mission reports. It's just mostly of like you looking at updates coming in from the home world and transmissions, and you're able to piece it all together what's happening.
Okay, so it's not like someone brought these together and was like, this is weird, look at this. It's just me, what I'm
There
saying.
have been a couple of skirmishes on a few different worlds in the Klingon Empire. They're being described to the outside world as protests, but what they actually are is supporters of Chang are trying to commit acts of violence against the government. Which really, in the Klingon society, is just like, bring it on. It is a powder keg right now, apparently.
Okay. I don't think I can think of a question. I'll let that bonus momentum.
If anybody else can think of one, you can, but yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have another question?
What is out like? Go for it.
No, please, go for it.
Well, I just had I was like, if we know our place in this based on these reports. Like you said, we're the flagship, but that's a question.
No.
That's a pitch question. Sam also had a pitch, so don't answer my question.
Not that one. Do it.
Okay.
The flagship isn't as important as each of you apparently is part of her internal staff. And judging from what this says, her first in command, who she trusts the most, is Jaren. Y'all are basically her personal bodyguards and her tactical team that accompany her. A better way of putting it, you're her honor guard. And you kind of follow her where she goes and support her. According to this and your personal records, the Klingons that you are were supporters of Gorkin. Some of you may not even have liked him very much and what he was trying to do meant the future of the Klingon Empire. And also, it's possible that there's a brighter future this direction.
All right.
So that's the general status of where things are right now. About that moment, you can all hear the ambient noise of the ship jumping to warp.
Last we'd met them, Prism was in a future-looking Starfleet pad. I suppose would stand out here, but there's no guarantee they still exist or are contained in that form here.
It's possible that Prism is on this ship and nobody knows what it is or that they even have it. I mean, who knows how it got here?
Maybe we check storage? Captain.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that if I were to hide a valuable asset for this particular crew, we should see about this vessel's hangar bay. That's where I would look. 2 pilots. Plus, I could see us needing to plan for an exit strategy.
Does this type of ship have a hangar bay?
Klingon vessels were really hit or miss when it came to actually having shuttlecraft. However, yes, the D7 does have shuttlecraft. Yes.
Score.
Well, Cadence is stationed here, of course. Of course, they've got small craft.
Yeah, I'll give this to Cadence. Cadence, what you know about shuttlecraft of Klingons at this time is they were not built to be agile fighter craft. They were more like troop transports.
They weren't built
Oh,
to
yeah.
be actual fighter craft. However, in my hands do I bring glory and honor to these shuttles.
Yep. So you are all headed to the hangar bay then?
Yeah.
Okay. The Klingons on board this ship give y'all a wide fucking berth when y'all make your way down the corridors. Y'all are doing like the tombstone walk. Everybody gets out of y'all's way. It's clear that every Klingon on board this ship knows who you are and the function you serve. You are the Chancellor's honor guard. So even high-ranking officers stiffen up and stand at attention with respect as you all walk past them. When you reach the hangar bay, it is nowhere near run as efficiently as a Federation hangar bay. It looks like, for the most part, some engineering crews down here and a couple of shuttles, but there's no, it doesn't look like there's any command suite or any kind of like flight control. That might be an artifact of the time, however. Here you just see a couple of consoles that are rising up out of the deck that seem to organize and list each shuttle and its docking areas, as well as operate tractor beams for the shuttles to come and go. There's about 12 Klingons in here. It is quite spacious. You can hear the telltale signs of machinery being worked as repairs are being done. Nobody approaches you. Everyone gives you a lot of space.
Do we have a physical description of Prism?
Prism-
The last we heard, Prism was on a like futuristic looking Federation pad.
Yeah.
But they're like an AI like program, so they could be on anything that could theoretically store that. And I don't know because they're from the future. Like they're from like
they
they're
probably won't
actively
even
from
be
the
on
future.
that pad.
Yeah, they could be on a thumb drive, all we know.
Yeah, and it sounds like, so sorry, this is above table recaps to make sure that I'm on the right page. It sounded like Carl was the one who handed Prism to the is that what's her name? The captain? Not this.
Prism told you all that it was in the hands of a Federation officer.
Okay, yes, it was from a Federation officer, but then Federation officer gave it to the Cross.
Mm-hmm.
But Carl made sure that happened? Is that what I was getting from that?
Carl didn't say whether or not he played a role. He just mentioned that it was here in this timeline.
Oh, okay, and then I must have misheard something from earlier. But okay, so it's here.
Yeah. But he didn't say what his role is with Prism. He just said that Prism was here on the ship and you would find it and that it would know you for who you are.
Yes. And so, so we have no idea what Prism looks like now. We just need to hopefully find an AI on the ship that it will know who we are.
On that note, as you were all discussing this and how you're going to find Prism, the payoff for a very clever casting your line into the pond with bait, there is what you realize for a second is actually a communication chirp, but sounds more like a coming out of your communicator, which is not a tapping of the wrist, but actually a physical communicator you have to pick up and activate.
Hello?
On the comms, you hear the voice of Prism saying, Captain Sharon of the USS Pride.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yes. That is who I am.
This is extraordinary. I've never seen such a temporal phase quantum variance such as yourself, especially not in organic form. How is this possible?
Carl, we've got work to do. I was hoping that you'd be able to assist us. Is there any place that we might be able to meet you?
Unfortunately, I'm not capable of momentum or movement. However, you can find me in the hangar bay.
Well, lucky us. We're on our way.
I will send you a ping.
Wonderful.
You
I'll be the
really
Klingon.
Following the ping signal, the party kind of moves across the deck, looking around. Klingons do not look at you. In deference, they do not. It is none of their business. They don't listen in. They don't watch. You move with absolute freedom. The pinging sound takes you around a corner where you find a tool set and a Klingon data pad left out. It looks like it's dusty and it's been here for a while. There's also a very large, heavy-set Klingon that is sleeping here. He's leaning back up against the crates, and his snore could probably be heard across the quadrants. The data pad that you see that is here is resting underneath his foot. It's hard to tell how long he's been asleep, but
The instinct was to not wake him, but then I remembered I have in a position of some authority. Just gonna reach and take the data pad.
You reach and take the data pad, and the big Klingon just pulls out his dick. The blades come out and goes, and his eyes widen as he sees you. Captain, and he stands up and says, "Sir."
Don't let me catch you sleeping again.
Yes, sir.
They're just gonna walk. It's such an awkward, like, I got away with that.
Daria can't help herself and just goes, "Yeah." And he flinches a little bit.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Tavi this entire time has been doing her best to frown on purpose.
Okay.
Like not through this encounter, but like since we got on the ship. Like
Okay.
if you look at her at any given time, she's like
It's
like if she
impressive.
catches her reflection, she's trying to make sure she looks menacing and not like too mild to be a
Your
Klingon.
eyebrows leave your Vulcan eyebrows in the dust. You as you furrow and look at yourself in your reflection, it's impressively menacing, even with the slightest muscle change. In fact, when you smile and kind of test out your face, the jagged, sharp teeth, you're not sure if you look like you're trying to kill someone or if you're genuinely amused right now.
Yeah, she just was trying to make sure she doesn't look too passive because
Right.
she's a Klingon right now.
Doesn't
But
take
it is
much.
kind of funny probably to watch
Yeah.
her like
Your
actively have
resting
to remember
face-
to frown.
Yeah, your resting face is almost more menacing because you can't tell what this angry inclined face is actually expressing.
I think as the captain walks away,
Okay.
and Zara like doubles down on it and leaves, I'll just turn back to this Klingon and just say, "But rest is important. A rested body is a strong body." And then I'll turn and follow the captain.
It's this confused look come over the Klingon's face as he goes,
Tavine turns to Taeon as we're walking by with again the like put upon frown and says, "Is that a common Klingon tenet?"
Oh no, I'm just a strong believer in making
That's
sure
such
you're
like a-
at your best.
it's such like a Klingon ox crew thing to do. And remember to hydrate. Get rest. Self-care.
Warriors need water.
Self-care. Or I will cut your tongue out. All right. You have some space again. as you're
You said
holding.
we know where our quarters are, so maybe we just go hide, just like bundle away in someone's quarters.
In the shuttlecraft. Quarters.
It is worth noting that on a D7 battle cruiser, this era in the Klingon Empire, you share your quarters with a bunch of other high-ranking officers. Only the captain, in this case, the second in command of the ship, which is going to be Jaren, has their own quarters next to the captain themselves, who's the chancellor in command.
We're inviting ourselves over. Sorry, Captain.
Okay. So it's easy enough to just cut to you guys being in the quarters. The quarters themselves, Jaren, as you're looking around, what's haunting about it is you can see a bit of your style in these quarters.
What the fuck?
You can see like, the different version of you and the way you're looking around. Like the aesthetics, they're incredibly sparse and not very decorative. But like some of the Klingon artwork that you have on the wall here is interesting. There's a painting depicting the Klingons killing their gods. And it is quite gory. Quite a mess. There's also, of course, the great painting that's like lengthwise near a sculpture. And the sculpture is abstract. You're not sure what it is. But the painting itself depicts Kalis, who you know to be Kalis, standing with a man who is standing before a great storm. Curious, though, is that whoever the Klingon version of you is in this world also seems to have an appreciation for culture and art.
Huh.
And lastly, it looks like whoever this version of you is a competitor in what you think must be the equivalent of Klingon pit fighting. Perhaps a Batleth tournament, but you see a trophy near the slab of metal, which you assume is your bed.
Oh, that's gonna do terrible things for my back. Okay. You can see he's trying to get the business, but he keeps looking at things on the wall.
Yeah.
While he's looking, may I make a check with respect to our transit?
Sure. Yeah.
We've been going up and down these hallways. We've been, and people have been not looking at us. And I'm trying to accept that, even though finally I'm not a weak human. Like, I'm as strong as my sibling. And so what I would like to know is, despite their non-eye contact of the various places we've gone down, various hallways, various Klingons I've observed, are there any motherfuckers wish they would? Because I do find myself wishing
someone
would. And I'm not casually looking for Chang allied individuals on this ship, right? This sort of thing doesn't come from nowhere.
I get
Vibe checking the crew who isn't looking at me. Just, I want to know if I've seen them. I'm not going to fight them now because we cut two. I have to honor the cut two. But I want to have them tucked away in the back of my head. What are you smiling at, Eric?
When we kicked off Blood of the Void, the FOMO that Sam had was extraordinary. And over the years, anytime it's been referenced, I'm not going to say that it wasn't something I had in the back of my mind when I decided to queue up this story arc for y'all to discover, but
no, because it was at the front of your mind. We all know that.
Chomping at the bit here to feed.
Yeah, and they're all avoiding me, Eric, and you're doing that.
Tell you what,
we're not post game yet, and so we're not doing stars and wishes. But I do have a wish that before this arc is over, the siblings can spar because they can't spar in their regular bodies. So I think it would be really fun.
something tells me that Jaren was about to set in motion something with Prism here. So I tell you what,
it's later. It's for later.
So Klingon Cadence is not necessarily seeing any. Everybody on board the ship seems to be quite loyal. However, as Carl might say, give it time.
Thank you.
As you are holding,
eyes are on a swivel. We'll leave that assumed, and you'll let me know when it's time.
The Klingon data pad in front of you changes its molecular structure. It's not a hologram at all. you see these forming like liquid metal plates begin to arc outward like scales. And the programmable matter that it has created out shifts and begins to change into a glossy black data pad with text that appears as it speaks. We can now speak in private. I have so many questions as to how you've come here, Captain Sharon. You're clearly from another quantum reality and another time.
Oh my goodness, I am very jealous of the people in the future. Yes, we come from a different time. You can see us for who we are. We were assisted by a entity known as Carl.
He sent us here to find you specifically.
Processes for a moment and says, I have a possible match in my database.
Well, let's see what you have on our friend Carl.
You see the voyages of the USS Enterprise. You see reference to a thing called the Guardian of Forever. You see what looks like a doorway and some information coming up. It also notes that the Guardian of Forever was last located on a planet that the Federation did quarantine, but it notes that the entity known as the Guardian of Forever disappears at some point. And it also has an entire history of the temporal wars and how Carl was becoming weaponized. You can see at least 200 different occasions where every single person involved with the temporal wars tried to weaponize the Guardian of Forever to manipulate time. Some of the things just give you like a summary reading as you're going through and kind of skimming through it. But Carl was really downplaying how often he was being used as a weapon against people, and how often he was, you're seeing, like, now that you've got some context, you're seeing how often he was giving benefit of the doubt again and again and again. And it does note that it is believed that Carl, that the Guardian of Forever has since jumped to another reality or has folded itself and traveled through time, theorizing that Carl does not exist in a linear state, much like higher beings that the Federation has encountered. It's impossible to say. But it does note that from the reports from Captain James T. Kirk, that it's not believed that the Guardian of Forever is malevolent, but that it operates on a different plane of existence, and that it is a very, Kirk pretty much wrote in his mission report that it is a incredibly dangerous artifact, sentient AI kind of styled creature that, if you misuse, could spell what it was spelling, essentially.
Well, got an update for you. It does spell disaster that we're here to fix. We could use some assistance in our current predicament. As it stands, we have to assist our charge here, the Chancellor.
Yes.
And I'm just going to run through everything.
Okay, you basically give the rundown. Prism responds as soon as you're done, saying, fascinating. I wish I had the opportunity to meet this version of the Guardian. However, the Guardian is correct. There is what they would call a shatter point that is taking place right now that is not recorded in time. I've been monitoring changes, reports that have been coming in.
What details could you give me on the shatter point, and how can we resolve it?
Stand by. You see data start popping up on the screen. As the data begins to pop up on the screen, you see star charts and everything. Prism is clearly an AI that is so advanced and out of its time. You're seeing Klingon intelligence reports that no one outside the Chancellor should have access to. It's a combination of history and data from the future, and also just like current events. And apparently Prism has been tracking deviations of how history has been recorded and events that have been taking place. And Prism reports right now, a faction that supports Jennifer Chang has been gaining more and more prominence. I believe I may have singled out where this is taking place. Unfortunately, the Klingon Empire is in a state right now where its military is somewhat weakened and looking for its own, as my old officers might have said, sense of identity. I believe this has led to gaps in their internal intelligence, while many of the members of the Klingon High Council are trying to understand where exactly their allegiances lie. The Klingon Empire, of course, is a warrior species and having difficulty coming to terms with the change in their culture. The warrior caste itself is fighting to find out how it exists in a world where its mortal enemy is now its friend. This is similar in many ways to the Meiji Restoration in Japan on Earth, when the warrior caste of the samurai were suddenly disbanded and the merchant class arose. In this case, the Klingon warrior caste is struggling to survive, and in so doing, the Klingons have become more violent than normal. This has led to a weak point that I believe someone has used to their advantage. I believe that someone is using a great Klingon house to fund and support possible uprisings within the Empire to weaken her rule. Further, I have marked the single biggest deviation that I cannot explain, and brings up the House of Duros. You see, appearing on screen, is a Klingon by the name of Captain Nukchek. The reason why this is particular is Captain Nukchek was killed, and yet right now persists. He's alive. My histories have recorded that Nukchek was actually murdered during the transition after the assassination of Gorkon.
Unless somebody changed it.
Yes. I believe it's entirely possible that history has been altered, though I've not been able to detect any changes in the timeline myself, which is contradictory to what I'm capable of. Further...
Are you up to... Do you have any data regarding the weapon, the cloaked weapon? That would probably be why.
Cloaked weapon? Klingons, of course, do engage in cloaking devices. This was technology that was stolen by from the Romulan Star Empire.
The Carl of it all. The weapon that they used Carl to make. Cloaks the changes and deviations in history from those who track it.
There are documented cases from the USS Voyager of a ship that was able to cause deviations in the timeline. However, those reports were never actually became part of the timeline database. They exist as a dead reality. That's the only information I currently have. I have nothing on a cloaked vessel.
I believe that's its intention.
Yeah, above board. You probably realize that's why Prism can't detect it. But he just goes on to say that I've been able to triangulate every possible location of where this particular Klingon could be found, and I believe I have found it. However, it would be impossible for me to do anything about it. Perhaps now that can change?
I do believe that's why we are here. Which, by the way, why are you here on this vessel?
Put the TikTok down.
Cadence
Having
is like,
fun, Captain. You've got to have your fun.
Cadence is like, why don't we get to carry daggers? Why doesn't Prism says, a curious question, but it's part of the temporal wards, which, according to my records, typically I would not be authorized to explain the nature of my arrival in this particular timeline. However, since you are from what I gauge to be an alternate reality and an alternate time, I'm not sure that it would be that disruptive to tell you. I was the AI assistant of a temporal agent for the Federation that was fighting in the temporal wars.
Yes.
I believe they may have been tracking a deviation in the timeline. However, they met an unfortunate end, and I've been having to cloak myself ever since. Typically, an agent from the future would arrive to reclaim me and resume the role. It's unusual that it has not happened, but then perhaps that is you.
Well, we can do our best to get you where you need to be, but in the meantime, would you be amenable to sticking around with us while we attempt to correct what's been shattered?
Yes. I believe I could create false data in the database that would implicate Duros in dealings that would be worthy of the attention of the ship. Anything you require, I can achieve. This technology is rather subpar compared to mine.
Seems a good plan as any, unless we have other means or ways we'd like to get close, Captain.
Oh, I have a healthy array of bad ideas.
I would love to hear some of them, Captain, because now that we are aware of who is the variation, the deviation, what do we plan on doing about it?
Well,
They
there's...
died. Do we
Kill them?
fix that?
No, that's not Starfleet. But we're not Starfleet. And that's the core of the bad idea. Because we're not Klingons either. The problem is there's a wealthy family backing a warmongering lunatic. Even if we remove him, the idea has grabbed the populace. If it's not that dummy, it'll be somebody else. What we need to do is kill the idea. And the idea is that Starfleet is the next big challenge. It's the honorable opponent. So what if we beat Starfleet? We're Klingons. We're Klingons. We fight honorably. We wouldn't use subterfuge, cleverness, or deception. But again, we're not Klingons. Prism, are you able to set up a encrypted line to the USS Excelsior?
Captain Hikaru Sulus, yes. However, I should tell you, Captain, that I'm under orders not to violate the temporal prime directive in this regard. Interacting with Starfleet of this era could endanger that.
Yeah. I was afraid of that. So let's hope Sulu's the man that I read about. I would like to have a conversation if I could.
I am authorized to override the prime directive protocols if I am ordered by a superior officer, sir. If you wish, I could contact Hikaru Sulu. However, I cannot guarantee what effects this might have on the timeline. My final solution would have likely led to the death of Doros, but I will follow the orders as you see fit. I must caution you, though, a Klingon solution for a Klingon problem might be what is called for.
We may want to look smaller ripples first, Captain. But I do like where you're thinking. Maybe a last resort. We keep that line in our back pocket. But we don't want to inadvertently prevent or enable any other events that will threaten the future we're supposed to be restoring.
Making an example of Duras and killing him in glorious battle might actually sway people from the idea. Then again, your approach might work as well.
The Cadence, you said that the reason that it never took off was because of his dishonor. He's not dishonored here.
Not.
We need to.
Well, are you talking about Duras?
No. The house that is currently starting the uprising.
Being
funded.
Oh,
right.
The house of Chang.
Yeah, he never had the funding because he was a dishonored family, right?
After Chang dies, his house faced discommodation, which is worse than death in the Klingon Empire. And so the Klingons would not have anything to do with them, except for those who, because there's an old saying, because Sharon's completely right. Klingons have a different sense of honor than the way humans understand honor. Klingons understand honor by the way Kalas teaches it, which is the most honorable thing is there's honor in victory. It doesn't matter how you win.
Right, nothing
so
more honorable than
There's nothing more honorable than victory. So
Wolf loves quoting that.
yeah. So then, so even though this is going against the grain, the mitigating circumstances is if they win, then that's all that
Yes.
matters. Yeah.
So somehow, if we're able to put them back in not quite a Klingon solution, but not quite a Starfleet solution, putting the dishonor back on them, and maybe that would discredit those funding them as well. You put your faith in someone who is unhonorable.
I worry that.
Oh, go ahead.
It seems whoever's funding them is not publicly known, regardless.
Actually,
Perhaps we could make it known.
I'm going to see what Zarya has, if Zarya can contribute to anything here real quick.
You know what might help with that?
What's that?
An ox point.
An ox point! Yeah!
Okay.
Let's get Zarya activated. You're so smart. You're so smart for that.
Go ahead and roll
14.
a die. What is it?
14.
14?
14?
Yeah,
Thank
because it's
you.
14 on 14 now. So you roll a d20, and if it's higher, then they have to re-roll. But we don't. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yay,
Duran
that's true.
452 for that ox point
Thank you, Darren.
and activating Lieutenant Zarya. In that case, I'm going to roll. You know what? Oh, you know what? Yeah, fuck yeah, because I can hold up. Because you can create yeah. There's a way to spend momentum in the moment where you can give yourself for a scene. This might be an artifact of first edition, so correct me if I'm wrong if you know this. But I know that you can spend momentum in a moment to give yourself essentially a focus that you can then. If I remember
Not
correctly,
sure, but I know that there is special training with a dedication that lets you get a talent.
There's
and
a talent that lets
that lets you do that.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember an ability where you can just
That'd be sweet though.
you can just do you can just be like, it's a good thing at the academy I trained in this and I remember my lessons. That was a first edition thing. I don't know if that's in second edition.
I
don't think I've seen that.
I don't think I've seen it either.
I think it's an ability that lets you do that.
Yeah.
Or there's like
okay.
one or two that.
That's just great.
However, I do have 2 determination. So I am going to give my determination to Zarya to spend for the special ability so she could get that talent.
She basically gain a trait.
Yeah.
So the reason why I think this is actually plausible is because she is an Andorian security officer. And in fact, specializes in the way when Bonnie created this character, she specialized in Bonnie wanted her to be full on war. She kind of flirted with being a warrior when she played Dr. McCrell, and making her Andorian for this one, she wanted to go full fucking beat him up. So I could see it feasible that she probably studied Jem'Hadar. She probably studied, Earth warrior cultures, and I'm sure she studied the Klingon Empire. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for her. I'm going to make this I'm not going to make this easy though. I'm going to make this.
Can we give her an extra die by spending a momentum?
Yes, you have to tell me, and I will do it because she is activated. So right now, she is technically functioning like a member of.
I would like to do that.
Okay, cool. How many extra die would you like to give her? And she's already getting the determination to get that ability, so she's going to have a focus in this.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Do you know what the difficulty is?
The difficulty is going to be 4.
Cool.
Ooh, we could spend all of our momentum. And
I think we should spend another one.
And Noir, you have the 2-for-1 deal with determination, right?
See.
Then,
so she
would you like
get
to drop 3 and I can exo that back to you?
Yes.
All right. There you go.
Okay.
So 2 extra dice for momentum.
2 extra dice? Okay, so 2 extra dice. Okay, so then let me All right, let me roll this. She's getting 2 extra dice. She's rolling a total of 4 dice here.
I'm trying to find the name of that talent she has now.
And then she's rolling her. This is going to be her reason, and then security. Yes, she is using a focus. All right. Okay, and roll. Okay. Zarya is thinking for a moment, and she just says, Prism, question for you. In Klingon culture, if we were trying to discredit somebody and we wanted to make sure that nobody was following their cause anymore, like, what is the best way of doing that? Would the Klingons respond if we tried to basically explain to them how this might be better for them if they followed as it were? You see the calculation pop up and then it says, no. Unfortunately, this is something that happens as a misunderstanding among the other races. Klingon culture usually responds to action over words. This causes them to be somewhat difficult to negotiate with. In this case, if you were wanting to inspire someone to a certain ideal, usually the best way to do that would be to take some sort of action. So what if we exposed him for funding a discommodited house? If we found evidence that would do the job, yes, unfortunately that would change the timeline. Duras is not supposed to be alive. He's been rescued from a fate that he was scheduled to have in this timeline. Someone has altered things.
How did he die in the timeline we're supposed to be having? I don't know what to call that. It's not real life because this is real.
Yeah,
Prime timeline.
The prime line, yeah.
Unfortunately, my records cannot show me, as the timeline here has been changed. I'm not sure exactly how this has happened. But it might be in keeping with this weapon you stated has the ability of changing timelines without anybody detecting it. I only have records that he was scheduled to have died before this particular period in history. If he survives and the House of Duras is dishonored by being exposed, it could alter things.
So he has to either die or disappear, probably.
That is also a possibility. Interesting.
To maintain closeness.
So we don't have to kill him. We could just try to make him vanish somehow.
Like a fleeing coward.
The reason why we're asking this, Prism, is we really don't want to have to blow someone up. Is there any other way to do this? I'm sorry, I don't have that information. But I will follow where you all lead and advise where I can.
Cadence had a good idea there, make it seem like they fled.
One thing that Klingons cannot abide is a coward.
That is true.
Love that about them.
In the event of not abiding by the coward, it's entirely possible that the Duras family would kill one of their own.
So what we know is supposed to be the case is that Duras is supposed to be dead, and this family, this house he's funding, is supposed to be dishonorable. How do we make those two happen? With ideally, as was stated bluntly, not blowing someone up.
You could fake it, have it seem like they died, while we just make them, I say disappear, but even then I don't know what we do with them after that.
Maybe. Prism, do you know where this Klingon is now? At this particular moment, history records that he was in operations in this sector and zooms in. Again, I can't speak to the accuracy of this information, however, as he's not supposed to be there at all. It zooms in on this sector. It's in Klingon space.
I think making them disappear, making it seem, at least to the public, that they are dead or have fled is not easy enough, but a good plan. But once we've convinced the public of that, what do we do with Duras?
Right.
Himself.
And worst case scenario, and Captain, you have final say, obviously, but I mean, the timeline's already been altered, and I say if we don't want to, kill him, then maybe dishonoring him is the way to go. I mean, worst case scenario, we killed two evil birds with one stone. I mean, the House of Duras isn't exactly a nice house where we're from either.
Do we have any?
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Sorry, finish your thought.
Prism immediately responds, "I would caution you against that line of thinking, Lieutenant. Passing judgment on history like this can lead to an emotional response. And while you might think you are doing good, it is an age-old problem of stepping on the butterfly and causing the extinction of another species in another world, if you understand my meaning." So you're saying,
to be small.
I hate time travel. I hate time travel. I hate it. This is...
I do too.
Really? Are you all doing this weekly? Is there a travel club I don't know about?
No, it's they don't tell us anything, do they?
Exactly. You see Arya throw her hands up. Everyone keeps telling us what we can and cannot do.
But that's just it. They don't tell us anything. The temporal agents, we ask for solutions and they don't tell us anything. We need somebody to disappear, but we can't kill him. We can't kill him, but we need him to be gone. And it has to fit into what we already know. And they don't tell us anything.
So what, we take him with us back to Carl?
The Federation has an entire division dedicated to these problems, and they don't tell us anything. Prism, would it be possible, theoretically, in your records, for the temporal agents of the Federation to have collected this Klingon without us knowing?
Is it possible for them to have collected this Klingon without knowing?
Yes.
Calculating. It's very possible.
Captain.
We've already done it. It's what Carl says. We've already done this.
Linear, you're right. So I'm thinking linearly. So we've already achieved. So we're just, wow. So wait a minute. That means we are playing out choices we've already made?
Likely.
My brain is going to melt.
We can't kill him, but he has to disappear. If we leave him in Klingon territory, they have no reason to keep him alive. But Starfleet has every reason not to spill Klingon blood and not to let them know that they have him.
So we deliver him to the temporal agency?
We've delivered him to Starfleet. They'll take care of it from there. They did it with us.
But sir, the temporal agency doesn't exist yet. It's not going to exist for over another couple of 100 years, I think.
The temporal agency exists whenever they need to. Our particular agents on our ship are not from our time.
Prism pipes up and says, the lieutenant is correct. The lieutenant commander has the right of it. The truth of the matter is the temporal agency has agents in every timeline at this particular period.
Who's the nearest station?
I have not been able to contact, since it would, as you might say, blow my cover. However, if I were to have access to a Federation database...
Prism, I have a question. If we were to tell the Excelsior that we were Federation, that would break the temporal directive. However, if a group of mutinous Klingons desperate to protect their Chancellor were willing to covertly work alongside the Starfleet, that would be something that would be classified, would it not?
It is highly unlikely that Starfleet would ever go for such a thing. However, the captain of the Excelsior is a different story. Hikaru Sulu followed after his former commanding officer and was known for breaking rules if it led to a better outcome.
Here's hoping Sulu sees a better outcome.
I can... Yes, Captain. I will need a moment. Sorry, guys. Wow. I mean... Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, indeed.
How much time have you been spending with the prophets there, Captain? You seem to be quite adept at non-linear thinking.
I think I'm more informed by my crew.
I have him, Captain.
Okay.
See him appear on screen. Sulu looks like his uniform is slightly open and he's got a cup of tea in his hand. And he says, Captain Jaren. You hear your name, knowing full well that he's actually said a different name in this reality. It's almost as though for a split second you're cooked, but you realize in this reality, as the name comes out, it's actually registering in the Universal Translator as him saying a Klingon name. He sets down the cup of tea and he says, "This is unexpected. What can I do for you?"
It brings me no pride to come to you now in need of your assistance. We are at a loss, and a faction of extremists stand to force war between our people. A war that I know that we cannot win. And a war that I know that you will grieve immensely from.
Sulu nods gravely. It is the outcome that I wish to prevent above all costs.
I am acting now against the wishes of my superiors, my betters, because I would not see us at each other's throats.
Nor I.
There are more honorable battles to be fought. So I would like to propose a deal. I can get you the location of the leader of this extremist faction. I intend to challenge him to combat. Once we have him, I would like for you and your ship to take him, and we shall never speak of this again.
Sulu seems to understand the weight of what you're saying. He nods slowly and says, I will need a moment to confer with my most trusted officer, but I am not saying no. Can I reach you on this channel?
Yes. Speak quickly. And Captain, that's a fine ship.
You see, he does almost the Spock eyebrow at that. And nods as it cuts off. As it cuts off, Prism immediately says, Captain, during your conversation, I believe we were detected. I'm detecting an anomalous energy source aboard the ship. It is registering with 33rd century technology. Someone is here.
Where?
Unknown, but they are now aware of us. The door to the quarters is forced open as you see 4 Klingons appear in the doorway. One of them narrows his eyes and says something in this gnarled Klingon accent that basically translates to Haktiba, as he calls you an animal. And he pulls out a diktak, as do the others. Captain, those are not... As you sit back, you hear Prism say, Captain, those are not Klingons from our timeline.
An animal. A wolf, to be specific. We travel in a pack. Right? And given the order, we're fighting.
This episode ends with 5 Klingons rushing into the doorway. Daggers drawn.
Oh boy.
Double tap. Double tap.
I'm gonna start with just Sam covered in blood. More.
It hasn't even started yet. They're covered in blood. We're like, what? Where did that come from? And you're
Where
like,
did the blood come
I don't
from?
exist linearly either.
That's gonna do it for tonight's episode of The Last Excelsior. Join us next week as we pick up here in this alternate reality 23rd century timeline. We will see you. Yep, there is read up on y'all's personal combat rules, because there is going to be bloodletting like never seen on this show in the next episode. We're going to get into some D&D style, like stabby stab with some Klingons. And they're not from this timeline, so safeties are off on this one. Like, it is time to go down. We hope you'll join us next Monday night. Until then, friends, hailing frequencies are closed.
Why? Oh crap! Klingons don't have phases; they have disruptors.
Yeah.